Welcome back to another episode of the Canon on the Boomer Bust channel. I'm your host Terry, and today talking about the new Superman reboot potentially coming from J.J. Abrams at Warner Brothers. And one of the big things that we found out the other day, or we should say was being reported, is that this movie is going to potentially center around a black Superman. Now, as far as J.J. Abrams directing and producing a Superman movie, that's not really big news, or I should say even new, because we heard this when Abrams first signed his contract with Warner Brothers to do this, multi-year creation deal. What was it wasn't confirmed, but what was said at the time was that it's believed that he was going to do Superman. Now, as far as a reboot, still not exactly sure. Different people saying reboot, but as far as it was talked about before, Henry Cavill was still, is it Cavill? I forgot. I always say Cavill. But anyway, it was still being talked about that he might return and that he was in contract negotiations with Warner Brothers, and that even J.J. Abrams liked him and that he potentially could have him back, but he had his choice about who he wanted to bring. And so we still don't honestly know what that decision is there. And we honestly don't know if this is going to be connected to the larger DCU. If it's a reboot with a black Superman, it's hard to say that it would be connected, because not only do we already know a Superman, but obviously that would be a very different Superman. And we just don't really know where all this is headed. I've said for a long time they should reboot as far as the DCU, but they've continued to go ahead. There's projects that still are in the works. And we don't have a clear idea of what this all is going to look like. And for all we know, they're going to do the Flashpoint movie and they're going to really reset things. We still don't know. So it's a lot of questions that are up in the air. But Hollywood Reporter, one of the better trades out there, or more reliable, I should say, they came out and said that their sources are saying that this movie, and they did say could center around a black Superman. So they didn't say that was even confirmed, but they said that that's definitely one of the options. Now they bring in the Coates, I don't even know pronounce the first name. I believe it's Ta-Nehisi Coates, who did some work with the comics, most notably Black Panther, but also just the author. I actually have to read a book for one of my classes wrote by Coates. So he's going to come in and help write the script. So if you know the work that Coates has done, then you would automatically think that the idea of a black Superman story is very possible, given the type of writing that Coates does. And so with all that kind of out there, and we don't know exactly yet, but with that kind of out there, my reaction is I'm not really excited for that. That's not what I want. I've done an episode before, and I'll probably try to link that at the end of the video, but I've done an episode before about this discussion about a black Superman, and it's not at all really what I want, for a number of reasons. I mean, I've said this from the beginning, not from the beginning, but I've been saying this for a while as we gotten into this genre. I don't need the black version of anything. I don't need the Black Constellation Prize. Constellation, I always do that every time. I don't need that. I'll take original characters, original ideas. You know what I mean? I don't need, the black Batman, the black Superman. Green Lantern's fine because that's a totally different character. Green Lantern is a position, not a person. But, so people love Jon Stewart. That's fine, but I don't need the black Iron Man, the black Captain America. I don't need any of that. Because those characters are who they are, and I don't need the black version of that. So when we're talking about, equity and representation and all that, to me, it's much more powerful to have a character that is wholly original and standing on their own, and not just trying to stand on the popularity of a character that already existed. That doesn't really serve anybody. And the characters is, they gain their popularity, they gain their status for a reason. Batman, Superman, they're not this popular thing just because they're white, and that's why they're popular. Now, if you make them black, now black is popular. No, it's about the story. And if that character already has a story and a lore etched into the history, we don't need to then ride that wave. You can just make something new. Now, obviously, when we're talking about Hollywood, their trend is to make IPs that are recognizable. They don't like doing things, or at least they don't like investing in things that are uncertain and don't have a built-in audience. And that's one reason the superhero genre is so big, is because that is a brand and IP that people know. Even if they aren't as big, there's certain things that people know, and that's why they kind of kicked off. And so while I understand that point, it's still the same thing. Invest in something original and let it stand on its own. That's why I was such a huge fan of Black Panther before the movie came out. Like, the idea of this hero or this character being a king or a prince of this land that's so advanced, and it's in Africa, and all the lore, everything that comes with Black Panther, it was wholly interesting by itself. He didn't need to be the black anything. It was King T'Challa. That's what it was. And they wrote that story a long time ago. And I think that gives more credence and service than just race swapping somebody to say, ta-da, look, he's black. Now, a lot of the pushback that people give is that, they do this all the time, blah, blah, blah. And it's not really something that has to be a certain way. And again, it goes back to why you're doing it. Obviously, there's going to be some times where potentially you're going to switch something around because you got a great actor, but more times than not, it's in service of this idea of equity and inclusion. And if that's the reason behind it, again, I don't think you actually achieve that by just race swapping the character. I don't think you achieve representation by doing that. So really, again, it goes back to what are you trying to do? And not only what's the reason behind it, but what are you willing to do as well? I said this a while ago. If you make Superman black, it's kind of a catch-22, because a lot of people trashed the Zack Snyder iteration of Superman because they felt it wasn't true to the type of character and spirit of the original Superman. This idea of being hopeful and charismatic and the Boy Scout and all that. And a lot of people ripped on that. And I love the Snyder and Cavill stuff. So I'm not on that train, but a lot of people were against it simply because it wasn't what they believe Superman should be. And so with a black Superman, to me, you kind of set yourself up in a catch-22, because you're going to have to address that elephant in the room. You know what I mean? We all know the story about, it almost sounds like Fresh Prince, but we all know the story of Superman. We know Clark Kent or Kal-El crashing to Earth, in Kansas, being found by the Kents, being raised, all-American, whatever. And then kind of from there, growing into his powers, understanding who he is, discovering the, Krypton stuff and kind of what he's supposed to be, and going from there. And there's trials and tribulations in there, And honestly, nobody really touched on that before Man of Steel, where they really looked at the tribulations of what it means to be an alien here. And people hated that. A lot of people hated that or didn't like it. And so to me, how do you make that Superman if he's presenting as black, obviously he's an alien. So people say he could be whatever he wants. Which is fine, but he presents as black in this world. And so how do you make that story of Clark growing up if you're not going to address the race of it? Or how do you make the story of him being an adult and living in America and you're not going to address the racial component of it? And if you're going to do this story justice and actually address that racial component, then you're going to be right back in the issue that people had before, where this isn't my Superman. And even honestly, even if you somehow write it where for whatever reason he's just happy-go-lucky, even though he's dealing with the racial components of America and he's still just so happy, then people are still going to be upset that this idea of race is going to be there anyway. And so there's that. And then the other option is that you don't put that much light on the racial component, in which you're going to have critics, a lot of critics get at you because you aren't doing that justice. You can't just, change that and be blind to what the effects of that would be. Growing up presenting as white and growing up presenting as black, those are two very different outcomes. And so again, I think I understand that if you want to go there, it can be powerful storytelling. It can be done well, but you're going to then again run the risk of this idea of this isn't, obviously you're going to get this isn't the Superman I know, but you're going to run the risk of like, this isn't the spirit of Superman. Why isn't he happy? Why isn't he just, big Boy Scout? And then if you don't address it correctly, you're going to get criticism for that as well. And so again, it's not to say you can't do a black Superman, but it's going to be really hard. And again, I don't see any real reason that you would or should do that. And so, obviously, if this comes to pass, we'll hear more as they get stuff done. But I would have to hear the reasoning behind it for it to make sense to me. Because I don't need the pandering of just making Superman black to say, see, I don't need that. And I feel like I'm thinking of Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm. Now, obviously, that movie had a lot of different issues, and we never really got far down the road of that franchise. But even now, I'm thinking a little bit of just, that wasn't enough time to really address that. The sad reality is you can't have the same story that they written all these years if you just switch to being a black person or any minority. Even switching genders, it's just, you can't just have the same old story. There's certain things you got to address or look at as a dynamic. A black man adopting a blonde haired, blue eyed white girl, like that, there's stuff there. And so there's a lot of components that they didn't even get to in that movie. And again, they had other problems with that movie, but there's other things they didn't even get to. And that, if that movie was actually well received and people liked it, trust me, it would have came with the critics of like, you did not really put enough time to that component of the movie. And so, that's how I feel, but we'll see what they do. Again, not much is official besides J.J. Abrams is doing this and Coates is writing. So we'll see what they end up doing. So go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about it, though. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe. And remember, if you heard it here, it's official canon.